Tyree. Here's Tyree with the lane. Tyree! Whoa! Can he get there? Tyree at the 30, 20, 10, touchdown, Notre Dame! Woo! 98 big ones!
What's up, everyone? I am ND Sean 45.
And I am Ryan, Week Zero Productions for Vel.
First off, Ryan, I gotta say I like your your nickname in your thing right there.
Yep.
That's pretty funny. But anyway, this is the Two Irish Brothers, and we are live here on this this wonderful Saturday afternoon. The Army-Navy game just hit halftime, so we figured that was a perfect time to go live here. So we hope everyone's doing well, and we have quite a bit of stuff to discuss here. We're going to try to go for 45 minutes to an hour, hopefully, because I've got myself personally, I have some things to do, but we're live and let's just get right into it. So, Ryan, the big thing that a lot of Notre Dame fans are talking about right now is Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers and the Mackey Award. So I know you've heard a lot of traffic about that.
Yeah, I have. And, me as a Notre Dame fan, I obviously think Michael Mayer is the best tight end in college football. I wouldn't say snubbed because I think that both of those two guys are both very close in terms of athletics ability. The only thing that Michael Mayer has on Brock Bowers is, the blocking, which that's the reason he's going to be the number 8 overall pick in the draft, according to every draft expert. But I wouldn't say snubbed because I think both of them were deserving of it. But I could understand if you're giving a tight end award, you would probably want to give it to the best overall tight end, not just Brock Bowers is more of a receiver and a tight end's body. But like we had talked about before the stream, it's also people got to understand with these awards that the awards are also not only based on how good you are at your individual position, but how good your team is. So if Notre Dame was 11-1 or 12-0 right now, Michael Mayer would probably have won the Mackey Award.
And that's my thing with this is if we all know, even the people that deny this, they know it's true as well. It is a lot of it is where your team's at in the postseason. And you're right. Georgia's in the playoffs right now. We're not. We're in the Gator Bowl. We're outside the NY6. So yeah, that's what they base a lot of it off of. And the funny thing is, I was in a debate yesterday with a Georgia friend of mine. Good dude. I'm not gonna use names or anything like that, but we were having an all-day discussion on this back and forth on social media. Well, whenever I could, when I was able to not get caught at work.
Mm-hmm.
Cell phone policy. And of course, you expect anyone to support any player on their team. I get that. I do. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. I do not have a thing against Brock Bowers. I don't think he's a bad tight end. He is a very good tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Very good tight end. And he was definitely very worthy of the Mackey Award, without question. But the thing is, when you look at both of them, and first off, let me just say this. They're two different types of tight ends.
Yep.
Both of them. Like you said already, Brock Bowers is more of the receiving type. He could easily play a receiver if he had to. So I would say like Brock Bowers, he's more of like and if you guys think this is a bad comparison, let me know. And Ryan, that includes you as well. But I would say that Brock Bowers is more like a Brandon Stokely tight end, a Dallas Clark tight end. Those guys, because those guys were receiving tight ends as well. They could line up outside. And I'm not saying, and Michael Mayer did too at times, but the thing is, Michael Mayer, he is more of a he is more of like I would say, I can't think of a name right off the top of my head, but he is more of a bruiser.
Mm-hmm. And Michael Mayer is the guy that's going to do all the dirty work for you. And, my comparison is this. Like, think of it right now in the NFL. So you've got a wide receiving tight end, which is probably, you could think of like Logan Thomas for the Washington Commanders. Or you can think of, I don't know, let's say Cole Kmet is probably more of a wide receiving tight end. But then you look at like guys like Travis Kelce. The reason why Travis Kelce is a Hall of Fame tight end is because not only can he beat you through the air, but he can also block. And he's an elite blocker, which is what Michael Mayer is. So I think they're, like I said, they're two different types of players. But I think what also gives Brock Bowers the edge is because he is a receiving tight end, that it gives him more flash than it would Michael Mayer because of the flashiness of, he can go get you a 85-yard touchdown. That's what I think part of it is as well, because people don't, us football fans that know and understand football, we appreciate, elite blocking and the dirty stuff. But people that don't really appreciate that look at, the flash of the explosiveness, the big plays, the touchdowns, and that's what they get caught up looking at. And I think that also hurts Michael Mayer.
Yeah, and the thing is too, one of the things my friends was telling me is, Michael Mayer lacked the ability to run the ball, and Brock Bowers, he scored a 75-yard touchdown on a jet sweep. Well, the thing is, it goes back to what I said. These are two different types of tight ends. A tight end like Michael Mayer, you're not going to run him on a jet sweep.
He's not fast enough.
He's not fast enough to do that. He's not designed to do that. Again, they're both two different types of tight ends that play according to their respected playbook.
Also, let's not act like how long that run wasn't against Kent State. Like, come on, man. You're running it against Kent State. You would never see Georgia run that play against LSU or Alabama or Tennessee. Like, come on, man. Like, it's Kent State, the team that went like 3-9 this year.
Something like that.
Like, come on.
But the bottom line is, you are not gonna have Michael Mayer run the ball. Now, I know that Notre Dame did that a couple times where they had, what's the backup's name? Is it Mitchell Evans? I think they had him do that a couple times, but normally you're not gonna see your tight end doing that. And plus, with Notre Dame's offense, you have three very talented running backs to choose from. So no, you're not going to run with your tight end.
Yeah.
But the thing is, another thing I was discussing with my buddy, and he was giving me all these arguments left, right, galore. But his biggest one was the average yards per catch.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think Bowers was at like 14 yards even, and Mayer was at like 12.5. That's what he kept harping on. And the thing is, and this is going to sound like what a lot of Georgia fans, the ones that were trashing Stetson Bennett, but I'm not saying this the way it sounds, because this is the idea of building a football team.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying there's a little difference here. Brock Bowers, and I'm taking nothing away from how good this guy is, because this guy could go anywhere and still be good. But the big difference with this season between him and Michael Mayer is Brock Bowers, he could, for lack of a better term, relax a little bit.
Yep.
Because it all goes back to what I said about having that supporting cast around you. He had a phenomenal group of wide receivers that were established. He has an established quarterback throwing to him. So yeah, his numbers are going to be smaller than Mayer's, but still like be equivalent, like equal out to one another, because there were other targets that Stetson Bennett could rely on, not just Brock Bowers.
He also had another top 5 tight end in the country on his team, and that Washington kid who's supposed to be another NFL first or second round draft pick. I mean, Mayer. Who did Mayer have in the tight end room that was proven behind him?
Nobody.
Exactly.
I mean, you have that Mitchell Evans who could be the next big thing, but we don't know that yet. And there was somebody else who did
Holden
pretty well this year,
stays.
but
Kevin Bauman is a few guys, but Kevin Bauman was
there,
supposed to be the second stringer, and he's been out all year with an ACL tear.
but the
So,
bottom line is all those guys are unproven. We don't
yeah.
know how good they're going to be or if they're even good at all in the next few years to come. But what I'm getting at is Brock Bowers, he's good. I'm not saying that he's not good. I have respect for him as a player. But the thing is, he didn't have the kind of pressure that Michael Mayer did. Because when you look at Michael Mayer's situation, he had to carry that Notre Dame offense. He was his group of wide receivers, not saying they're bad, but they're very raw. And also he was doing it with a backup quarterback as well. And he was still able to do what he did, having all that pressure on him to carry the offense. Really not a lot of support around him. So to do what he did, I guess it all goes back to how is he not the Mackey Award winner? Again, it's no disrespect to Brock Bowers. He's a great tight end, but he had a lot more support around him to where he was able to breathe a little bit and not have as much pressure on his back like Mayer did.
Just to play devil's advocate right here, I think that
That's fine.
I think you could also say that, because of Mayer being the focal point of that offense, that could be the reason why his stats were so good. And then you look at people like Brock Bowers, who has all this talent around him, and he's not the whole focal point of the offense, but he still produces the same amount of yards, same amount of touchdowns. I believe he actually had more touchdowns than Mayer. So I think it's like you could use that argument both ways. You know what I mean? Like, hey, Michael Mayer's the only guy and he still did all this. But then Georgia's side could say, well, you know what? Yeah, because you know why he did all that? Because he's the only guy that Pine could throw to. So I think it goes both ways. That's why it's like these two guys, it is so tough. It is so tough. It's almost like you wish you could just give the award to both of them because they are both elite.
Absolutely. Both are so deserving. I mean, like I've said, I can't stress this enough. I am not saying that Brock Bowers is a bad tight end. He's not.
No. He's an amazing tight end, but I've been saying this all year. I think Michael Mayer is the best tight end. If you want to say, oh well, Brock Bowers is the best receiving tight end, but the best overall tight end is Michael Mayer. Just based on what that position has to do and what they need to be able to do, you got to give Michael Mayer the credit for the blocking as well.
Yeah, you do. Absolutely. And I just saw, Ryan, we have some losers coming in. So time to make a quick little change here. So give me 1 minute.
They got some Notre Dame haters in the comments.
I wouldn't exactly say Notre Dame haters, but we have some losers, put it that way.
Like I've been seeing the comments pop in.
I think they're trolls from a certain somebody, but I can't prove that.
But
I'm not even gonna go there. So what I said is enough. But no, I'm again, to sum it all up, both of these guys were definitely worthy of that award. And it's not like some I don't know what's a good word. It's not like a bum won it. Certainly not. But the main thing too is we touched on this earlier. I do think that you're definitely where your team is at, where each player's respected team is in the postseason. That definitely has a lot to do with it. I know people are gonna say, "Oh, look, the bitter Notre Dame fan is saying this." Of course, they'll say that. Well, it's a good point though. If it was the other way around and we were in the playoffs right now and Georgia was outside of the NY6,
if they were 8-4,
yeah, if they were 8-4, do you think they would still give it to
Bowers? No,
to Brock Bowers? Probably not. I would bet money that they probably would.
And you
And
know
I
what?
think that's
And
wrong too.
we see that in every award. We see it in the Heisman. We see it in the Maxwell Award. We see it even in the NFL with the MVP award. You know, it's always where your team is because you know why? Because the committee wants the Mackey Award winner to be in the playoff. They want the Heisman Trophy winner to be playing in the playoff.
The only time that I didn't see that happen, and maybe it's happened other times, and I just haven't noticed it, was I forget what year
RG3
was.
was RG3.
Yeah, RG3 when RG3 won the Heisman, his Baylor team was not in a BCS bowl, and they weren't even in the national
They
championship.
were like 7-6 that year.
And I forget, and what bowl was it that they played in? Wasn't
They
it like
played
the
Illinois in the Kraft Mac and Cheese Bowl. It was like the Kraft Bowl or something like that. Yeah.
That's the only time that I can remember seeing that happen.
But that was just because that guy was just electric and there was really nobody else who you could give it to.
Yeah. Oh, very true. But that's the thing. I think that's wrong because if you're gonna base awards on how the team does instead of just individual stats, then why do we even bother having
Awards,
individual awards? Why even bother having them if you're not gonna just base it strictly on individual awards?
So yeah, speaking of awards, I mean, I wanted to get your thoughts on this because we talked about it yesterday on our show. Who do you think deserves to win the Heisman Trophy?
Oh, that's a tough one. Because let's see, the 4 finalists:
C.J. Stroud, Max
Duggan, Caleb Williams, and then Stetson Bennett.
Yep.
I guess if you want to, again, I don't want to base it off of how the team is doing. I want to try to keep it to individual stats.
Mm-hmm.
We
also got to take into account Heisman moments as well, because that's a big thing that the Heisman committee loves is those Heisman moments, and it's so weird with these guys because they've all had their ups and downs, and it's not like other years where we had guys like Kyler Murray or a Baker Mayfield or a Cam Newton where their record was almost flawless and they were the obvious clear choice to win the Heisman.
I mean, I guess without basing on the team and how they're doing, Max Duggan could be a suitable candidate because look what he himself did in that Big 12 championship game. Mm-hmm. He played his guts out. And he went till he had absolutely nothing left. Mm-hmm. So you could say that Duggan is the top candidate for that reason.
And also the fact that Caleb Williams played really bad against Utah in that Pac-12 title game, got exposed a little bit.
Yeah, and you could Stetson Bennett makes a nice case for himself because he's had, it's funny, a lot of Georgia fans who shit on him. Mm-hmm. He did really well last year, and he's doing even better this year.
Last year, it seemed like, I'll admit this because I was a Stetson Bennett non-believer last year. I think a lot of people were because of how stacked that Georgia team was. He didn't have to do a lot. But I think last year they were winning. Georgia was winning despite Stetson Bennett, kind of like Notre Dame was winning despite Drew Pine because we were just kind of like needing him to just be a game manager, not do too much, not turn the ball over. Meanwhile, this year for Georgia, it's like they're winning games because of Stetson Bennett. We've seen them. They should have lost to Missouri. If Stetson Bennett's not the quarterback of Georgia, and they probably lose to Missouri. So he has played amazing this season. And I think that it sucks because I don't think he will win it. And the only reason why is because of the storylines. Because he was a walk-on. And walk-ons aren't expected to win the Heisman Trophy.
No, normally not.
And I also think he gets overshadowed by the guys on his team.
Well, and the thing is, like I said, with that, because one of the main reasons that a lot of Georgia fans were crapping on him last year is because well, look if he didn't have all the guys that he did around him, he wouldn't be squat. Well,
okay, you could say that about Caleb Williams too.
But that's the idea, though. That's the idea. You give your quarterback weapons. That's the idea of building a football team. I mean, if he didn't have those guys, yeah, he probably would have sucked.
You know
But
what?
now,
Like, look at Caleb
but
Williams.
that's the idea.
Look at
Yeah,
Caleb Williams, man.
same
I mean,
thing.
he has USC has the best available transfer quarterback from last year, the best wide receiver in college football last year on the same roster. They have a top 5 receiver from Oklahoma in college football last year on the roster. They had one of the top 5 running backs in college football last year transfer in, and Travis Dye. But no, you don't see people saying, "Oh, well, Caleb Williams, he wouldn't be that good if he didn't have uh, Jordan Addison or Mario Williams or Travis Dye." It's, oh, Caleb Williams is this and that and this and that. Like, he's so good. It's like, part of why he's good is because he has elite talent around him. But if you're going to say, well, he's really good, then you got to give the same thing to Stetson Bennett, because Stetson Bennett has wide receivers, but he doesn't have the same weapons that Caleb Williams has.
Well, all I know is it's just stupid when people say that. But well, if you don't have the weapons around your quarterback, then yeah, he probably will suck. But that's why it's called building a football team.
Mm-hmm.
You give your quarterback weapons, so he becomes good, they become good. That's why it's a team sport. I just, the stupid comments that I hear out of people's mouths, it is just I'll never understand it. I'll never understand it. Like, if like, for example, take Drew Pine for us this season. If he had a bunch of 5-star receivers around him,
oh, he'd probably be a lot better.
He was lighting it up, and people would probably still say the same thing. Oh, well, just because he has a bunch of 5-star receivers around him, that's the only reason he's good. Well, yeah, that's called building a football team, morons.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I repeat myself a lot with that, but what is it about that people don't get? I mean, your job is to get the best talent you can.
The only reason
have weapons all over the field.
The only reason that argument should ever come up is like kind of with the CJ Stroud situation. You know, we've seen him play against Notre Dame. We've seen him play against Michigan, which are by far and away the 2 best teams that Ohio State has faced. What happened when the Brights were at their brightest, and CJ Stroud, with all these wide receiver weapons, had to go out there and throw for 300, 400 yards against Notre Dame and Michigan? He couldn't do it because, well, guess what? When Michigan and Notre Dame took those wide receivers out of the game, took them away, limited the big plays, CJ Stroud couldn't go out there and beat them, which is why Ohio State against Notre Dame resorted to running the ball. You know, it's the same situation. That's the only time that should ever come up, is if you have that talent at wide receiver and you have that talent around you, but then you can't produce when the Brights are the brightest. That's when you start questioning, well, is it your wide receivers that make, your numbers really well? Is it the teams you're playing? Is it, that's when those things should come in. But when you're playing really well and having Heisman type season with elite guys around you, that's what you're supposed to be doing. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. I mean, you make some good points there about, when something wrong, when things go wrong, but that has a tendency to happen with everybody, not just one particular team or one particular guy. But it's like, but the thing is, though, if you have an elite quarterback on a team full of lousy receivers, I mean, is it really going to be his fault? Like, say, for example, if he throws all these passes and his receivers are nonstop dropping them, is that really his fault?
No. Unless you got Tom Brady, who magically makes Julian Edelman a Hall of Fame wide receiver. But
my point is, can you really blame the quarterback if his receivers are dropping passes? No, you can't. But that's exactly why, the idea is to get him some top-notch receivers, top-notch tight ends.
But you know what? I do think it also speaks volumes when you have a quarterback like a Max Duggan, who, I don't know if you knew this, but the media had TCU finishing 9th in the Big 12 this season.
Well, they had been struggling. I knew that, so that wasn't overly surprising.
But the fact that he's got the guys he's throwing to, like that Davis kid and the Johnson kid who's going to be a first round wide receiver pick, like he should get credit for that because guess what? Those guys weren't even near the draft boards before this year.
True.
You know why?
Very true.
Max Duggan made, I'm not going to say he made them, but you don't think he had something to do with making those guys' careers explode? I mean, he wasn't even the starting quarterback. Max Duggan's stats, if you look at his stats, he didn't even play in the first game. And he still threw for a ton of touchdowns, a shit ton of yards. I mean, that kid, I'll just say this. I'll be really upset if Caleb Williams wins it because he's got the flash because he plays at USC. He's got all these, this talent and everything. Everybody loves Lincoln Riley for whatever reason. And I don't know. I think Max Duggan should win the Heisman just because of the way he played in that Big 12 title game and the fact that he battled adversity all year, not even being the starting quarterback to begin the season.
Right.
And I don't know, man. And also, you hear all the USC fans, well, we only lost to Utah because Caleb Williams injured his hamstring. I don't want to hear that. If the guy was out there playing and still able to throw the ball, unless he's got like a torn ACL or a broken leg or something like that, like, I don't want to hear, oh, well, we lost because of his hamstring. His hamstring didn't make him throw an interception that cost him the game. You know what I mean? Like, it's...
Yeah, I got you.
And the media makes that excuse for him, too. You don't know how many times I've heard Herb Street say, well, USC was a Caleb Williams hamstring away from making the CFP. No. They were getting destroyed. They were a game against getting destroyed by Utah away from getting in the college football playoff. Like, give Utah some credit. I mean, like, come on, man.
No, but when, of course, the media, they're always going to have their favorite guys that they love to gush over. I mean, you watch when we played USC. I mean, it was a nonstop love fest between Herb Street and Fowler towards Caleb Williams.
It's the same thing they do in the NFL with Mahomes. It's like they just start, let's just say, soiling their pants anytime Caleb Williams or Patrick Mahomes does something. Like,
yeah.
And the announcers are supposed to be biased or unbiased, like, and they're not.
They're not gonna be. You know that. I mean, and look, and it's nothing against the players. I mean, the players, these are good guys. These are good players. They're talented players, and they should get the credit for that. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, it gets annoying when you have these media guys gush all over them, and I think that was the big thing too with Herb Street and Fowler when we lost to USC is, it's just like insult to injury. I mean, we're already losing, and then we got to listen to these guys gush over praising this guy, like, kissing his ass nonstop. And, you wish it would be more unbiased, but unfortunately it's not.
When have you ever heard a Herb Street called game with Notre Dame in it that wasn't biased towards Notre Dame? Like, I don't think I've ever heard Herb Street or Fowler say one good thing about Notre Dame anytime they've called a game, even when Notre Dame has won those games.
Well, I mean, they do give credit to the players when they do something outstanding, like make a great play or whatever. But no, they're going to be gushing with guys on the other team.
It's like when we were playing Ohio State. I don't know if you noticed when I was watching that game, going into the fourth quarter when we were up 10-7. All Fowler was talking about, well, the storyline of this game is Ohio State loses, and if they lose, it's going to be, well, they didn't have Jackson Smith and Njigba. Like, no, the storyline should be Notre Dame upsets number 2 Ohio State and the horseshoe, not Notre Dame or Ohio State loses because they don't have JSN. Like, yeah, it is so annoying.
And Njigba played in the game, but he got hurt.
Yeah, that's what happens. Like, but when Notre Dame lost to Clemson, in 2018, when that was a close game until Julian Love and Julian Okwara went down, nobody said anything then. Like,
no,
you don't give Notre Dame the benefit of the doubt. Come on, man. It's so annoying to listen to these announcers, and I don't know if you've seen who the announcers are going to be for our bowl game, but we got the SEC Network crew, so you know how biased that team is going to be. Like,
I'd rather have the Big Ten crew of Gus Johnson and
yeah,
I forget who his co-host is, but I'd rather have Gus Johnson call the game because at least Gus Johnson he's fairly
he's so unbiased.
And I just like how he calls a game.
Yeah, they got some guy named Taylor Zarzer or whatever is going to be calling the game, and he works for SEC Network. Great, and he calls the SEC Network like the games that suck. That's the games he calls. So, yay, we get to hear that all game long. So,
yeah. Well, speaking of that, I guess we could move on to the next discussion here. But what was your thought when we were picked for the Gator Bowl? Because I know it got kind of interesting there because it sounds like both the Gator Bowl and the Holiday Bowl were really fighting over for Notre Dame to play in their respective games. And I guess they made some kind of arrangement where North Carolina took the spot in the Holiday and we take the spot.
Which I didn't like. Me and my buddy Lucas, who's an Oregon fan, we were talking about because we were like, dude, we want Notre Dame to play Oregon so bad. That would be so cool. I even talked about if that was the matchup, I'd get tickets for me and him to go. And I'm thinking, it makes so much more sense money-wise and revenue-wise for Notre Dame to play Oregon if you want TV ratings. Because those are two teams that have first-year head coaches that are very young, are doing really freaking good in recruiting. You got the Dante Moore storyline. That plays itself.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how much money that would make instead of Oregon versus North Carolina? I mean,
yeah.
I understand you got Drake May on the other sideline, and that probably brings a lot of attention because, that kid probably a potential first-round pick a year from now. But
he has a good upside to him.
Yeah, and I think you would get better ratings than you would Notre Dame versus South Carolina.
Well, and the thing is, I know one of the teams that was a possibility for the Gator Bowl on the SEC side of excuse me. Hate when you get what you call it acid reflux. But anyway, I think Mississippi State was one of the teams that were an option for the SEC side of things. And we've never played Mississippi State, so I know that was a big rumor for a while. So yeah, I guess I don't know how it works with these committees, but it sounds like the Gator Bowl really did something to get us, and that they really wanted us. So,
well, evidently, the Holiday. So how it goes with the ACC tie-ins is it goes Holiday, Gator Bowl. So the Holiday Bowl is technically a higher viewed bowl game than the Gator Bowl, for whatever reason. So basically, from my understanding, is that it was supposed to go to the best ACC team that was either not in the playoff, not in the Orange Bowl, or not in the Cotton Bowl. So that's why it was between either North Carolina, Notre Dame, or North Carolina State. And somehow, I guess the Holiday Bowl viewed North Carolina as a better team than Notre Dame, even though we blew them out at their place. Doesn't make any sense. And also the fact that North Carolina is not even ranked right now. Notre Dame and North Carolina State are ranked.
Yeah, I don't get that. I really don't. But
Lucas all I know is he's like, man, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm really glad that it came down to either those two bowls, because that we're getting a pretty good bowl game either way. Mm-hmm. And I'm just glad that we didn't get something stupid like when you were on with both Ben and myself, and I was talking about, and this is one of my shticks, I guess. This is one of my gimmicks that I've always done these past couple of years, is talk about all these minor bowl games. But I'm really glad that we got one that's actually a traditional bowl game and that actually has its own name and not just some sponsored name bullshit bowl. Like the
You wouldn't want to
Cheez-It
play in
Bowl.
the Cheez-It Bowl?
Well, like I said, if it was called something else other than just the Cheez-It Bowl, like I said, this is a custom banner that I made
The
of an
Cheez-It
idea.
Pineapple Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. Here it is, the Cheez-It Pineapple Bowl. If the bowl game actually had its own name, and the sponsor was just a part of it, then okay, I'm cool with that. But I hate these sponsor name only bowls. It's like no wonder people call these games the toilet bowl. I get it from that aspect, from that that point of view.
My question was always like, with these bowl matchups, I don't like the idea of a ranked team playing an unranked team. Like with the Cheez-It Bowl, you've got, oh God, who is it? There's a ranked team that's playing a 6-6 Oklahoma team. I don't like that. I think that the ranked teams should try their best to play another ranked team in a bowl game. Because, you don't want to see, if Notre Dame goes 8-4 or 9-3, as a Notre Dame fan, I don't want to see us play an unranked team, because that makes it not as, obviously it's still a win, but it's not like that big of a deal because we're beating a team that's not very good. You know what I mean? Like,
right, I see what you're saying.
And I don't understand. Like, I understand. Oh, it's it's the brand Oklahoma. They might be 6-6, but they're still Oklahoma. That's going to draw fans in. Okay,
Yeah.
But think about the other side. The other side is like Lucas was telling me. He's like, man, I don't want to play North Carolina. They're unranked. Sure, they're a decent team and they're 9-4, but I'd rather Oregon play Notre Dame or North Carolina State. At least they're a ranked opponent. That gives us as a fan something to look forward to and cheer about. Hey, we beat a ranked team.
Yeah. He's got a point. I understand where he's coming from.
Like Notre Dame, we're 21. We're playing the number 19 team in the country. I'm happy at least we're playing a ranked team. So,
the only unfortunate thing is Michael Mayer's not playing in the game. Isaiah Foskey's not playing in the game, and a part of me does understand that, because this isn't an NY6 bowl. It's not the national championship, or I'm sorry, the playoffs. Excuse me. So I can understand them sitting, but it does suck that you're not going to see all the best guys out there.
Yeah, and
I'm not going to expect either of those guys to risk their professional futures for the Gator Bowl. And I don't say that to, down talk the Gator Bowl, but when you compare it to the NY6 or the playoffs, yeah. That's where
I tell you what, though, the good thing about, not having Mayer and Foskey is that we'll get to see what this team is without them. And it gives younger guys some time to prove what they can do. This could be a springboard. Who knows? Maybe Tyler Buckner or Stephen Jelly starts, and they go out there and they play amazing, and that springboards into next season. Or Estime has an amazing game, or Diggs has an amazing game, or hell, say Colsey or Tobias Merriweather or one of our wide receivers has a breakout game. Then you know how much confidence that'll give them going into the spring. So this is a good time to get those younger guys in, see what you have in this team, and springboard into next season.
And we're playing a pretty decent team in the South Carolina Gamecocks, so it's not like this is a pushover game either. And speaking of all that, what you just said about guys stepping up, and unfortunately, the guys we have sitting, which I don't blame them. I understand it. I get it. I work with a friend who is also a Notre Dame fan, and one thing he was telling me is that if you're going to have all these guys sitting out, then all these minor bowl games should just be considered exhibitions. I'm like, what are you talking about? Why consider them exhibitions? He's like, well, hear me out. They play the game, they still get the money, but these should just be exhibition games. And they don't count towards the program's record. And I'm like, well, then why the hell even play the game then if they're just exhibitions?
Exactly.
No, but no, you don't. I don't want to play a game if it's for nothing. Now, of course, and like NFL preseason, for example, that's a little different. That's you're actually, trying to make, figure out who's going to make your team and who's not. But when you already have an established team and you have a chance to play in a postseason bowl game, hell no, do I want it to be an exhibition and not count? Then exactly like I just said, if they're not going to count, then why play them? Why play them?
What about? What are your thoughts on JSN not playing for Ohio State, even though he's available to play in the playoff?
I'm shocked at that because as a collegiate player, this is what you play for. I mean, they're in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They have a chance to win a national championship. It's like, what? That's not a national championship's too good for you? Is that what you're saying? I mean, look, all these guys have a professional future. Don't get me wrong, but how could you sit out a playoff game? That boggled my mind when I first heard that. It's like, what's this guy doing?
And especially, it's like, does a national championship not mean anything to you? Like, yeah. I understand the whole, if you guys were playing, man, even in the Rose Bowl, because I understand, that's not, the Rose Bowl is a Rose Bowl and it means something. I'm not saying it doesn't, but we've seen guys sit out New Year's Six bowl games before because of the NFL and potential injuries, blah, 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 blah. I understand that. But he's the first ever collegiate football player to turn down going to play in the playoff to go to the NFL. And I don't get it. And I bet you his teammates at Ohio State are probably sitting there, dude, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, we got a chance to win a national title, and we're playing the number one team in the country. We need you.
Yeah.
And you're abandoning us? Like,
but also these games, especially in the not just the playoffs, but the NY6 lineup as well. These are all big stage bowl games. This is a chance for you, and I've said this to Ben many times, and you'll probably hear me say it many times more after this. But these are the big stage games that really help your draft stock.
Yep.
Because when you're in the NFL, you are on the big stage.
Every game's a big stage. Yeah.
Yes, every game is a big stage then. So you play these playoff and NY6 games to help build your draft stock. Show these NFL teams like, hey, show them what you can do on the big stage.
Mm-hmm. And you know what, for him, I understand he's coming off of a big injury that's kept him out since the Notre Dame game. But what do you think that did to your draft stock that they haven't seen you play for 3 months?
Yeah, and you would exactly. You would think that after the injury that he had, that he would want to get back out there and show what he can do.
Look at George Pickens from Georgia last year. He missed all 13 games in the season. He was finally healthy for the college football playoff, and guess what? He played. Guess what? He played amazing. Was a first round draft pick by the Steelers. Guess what? He's up for Rookie of the Year right now. And he risked it.
Yeah, because he showed the Steelers, and I'm sure, of course, there were a lot of other teams, I'm sure, as well.
Mm-hmm.
But he showed them what he could do even after an injury, even after playing in just 2 games. But those were the 2 games that really mattered.
Yep.
And he stepped up and he had played very, very well. Look where it got him. Exactly. Because he wanted to show everybody what he could do. Like, hey, I've been hurt. I've been on the bench out with an injury, but you know what? I'm still going to come out there and make an impact.
And I've seen things from Ohio State fans saying, well, don't dog on the kid because he probably thought that, we're going to get blown out by Georgia like everyone predicts, and there's no point in risking an injury in a game that we're probably going to lose anyway.
Hey, whose fan base is that? Whose fan base?
Ohio State's fan base.
No, I'm saying
our fan base.
Yeah, whose fan base does that sound like? Oh no, we're gonna get blown out. We don't want to make the playoffs. The 1% of our fan base, I should.
And then Ohio State fans want to crap on us. Like, come on, man, you guys are doing the same thing. Oh man, and you know what Oh
Go ahead.
man, I just
was
really
gonna
hope
say.
this doesn't turn into the best players now, especially when the playoff expands, start sitting out, because that would ruin college football for me. Because at that point, you're kind of deciding games.
Yeah, pretty much. And plus, I think it's a good thing that the playoff is expanding because you know what? With the NFL season being 17 games and then the playoffs, if I'm these guys, I would use this as a great tool to get used to that.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? I think that to avoid this, I think the NCAA needs to give some incentive for these guys not to sit out. I think what I would do if I was the schools, I'd say, okay, if you don't play in the bowl game, we want your NIL money that we gave you. I mean, that's what
Good.
I would start doing
I like
because
that.
because you know we're not paying you to sit out. Like it's kind of like the same thing in the NFL or NBA where you don't play, you sit out, guess what? You don't get a paycheck. Just like the rest of us. If we don't go to work, we call in, we stay at home and be lazy, guess what? You don't get a paycheck.
Well, and you know what? You know what else? I know that these guys when they're going through the recruiting process, they want to go to the big time schools to get noticed, and their ultimate goal obviously is to get to the NFL. Obviously, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're there at that school, why not have a little pride for being there and playing for that school?
Yeah.
It's like what? I mean, they're just a stepping stone. You're just wasting your time there. You're not
And
going to
with NIL, and I didn't even think about this. With NIL, JSN has made millions of dollars already. He has. So
yeah.
if you do get injured, you got millions of dollars to lay back on. So I mean, I it's not the same as it used to be because these kids are getting paid. They're not screwed financially if they get injured. They have millions of dollars. So that makes it even look worse on you that you're sitting out. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I got you. As long as they're smart with their money, that is.
yeah. Which, if you are financially smart and you hire a financial advisor, a couple $1,000,000 can last you a long time.
Oh yeah,
It really can.
I know I could make it last a long
Yeah,
time.
exactly. See?
Not that I'm a cheapskate. Not that I'm a cheapskate or anything, but I just, I know what I need and what I don't need, if that makes sense.
So I guess the last thing we should talk about.
Yeah, you want to talk about this.
The Dylan Edwards thing and the whole Colorado Deion effect that's sweeping college football right now. I want to get your thoughts on it because I kind of told you what mine were, but I want to kind of get your thoughts on Deion, what that means for Colorado. Do you like it? Do you not like it? And then kind of your thoughts on the Dylan Edwards decommit.
Well, here's the thing. Ben and I were actually talking a little bit about this last night. And first off, I don't have any issue with Deion Sanders wanting to coach at a major program. I mean, if coaching is what you want to get into after your career is over, that's fine. That's fine. But the thing is with Deion, he's making it very clear that he wants to change things there. He wants to get rid of the toxic element that's become a part of the Colorado football program. Because he said straight up, he's like, hey, this is what's going to happen. And if you don't like it, then you can hit the
He pulled scholarships from guys. He pulled scholarships and told them to leave and go enter the portal, go somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. He's not going to put up with any bullshit. And I like that out of a coach. I do. And of course, we both know that, I mean, his name is a big part of it. Neon Deion Sanders, prime time, all that. What kid wouldn't be fascinated by that? Everybody knows who Deion Sanders is.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is this, if I really don't have a problem with it because kids are going to go where they want to go anyway.
Yep.
But with Dylan Edwards, I mean, yeah, it sucked that he decommitted from us. But what Ben and I were talking about last night was the Bo Jackson situation when he was coming out of high school back in the day. He had originally committed to Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is though, Alabama didn't guarantee him playing time. Auburn comes and says, "Hey, you can start for us right away." And So he decommitted from Alabama, committed to Auburn, went to Auburn, and he had some pretty good success
Yep.
there. I mean, we both know that. So would it surprise me if it was this same kind of thing with Dylan Edwards? And we don't even know for sure if he's going there yet, but obviously it sounds like he is.
Well, I actually
Then
have a screenshot. Sorry to interrupt you, but it came out
that's all right.
because a family member close to Dylan Edwards leaked this information. So that family member is probably going to be in some deep water now that that's out. But
Screwed.
he had said, quote, "The reason for Edwards' decommitment is twofold. According to sources, Edwards has been receiving significant NIL offers, and other sources indicate there was growing concern on that side of things that Notre Dame was loading up too much at both running back and wide receiver, leaving Edwards with limited to no playing time."
Well, then I guess that's kind of the same thing like with Bo Jackson. Then, I mean, because look, even without Edwards,
This
our
class is still
2022
amazing.
the class is still stacked. I think even with his decommitment, we're still at like number 2 in the country.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, which honestly, as from a fan's point of view, that's a good problem to have when you have all this talent and you can't figure out what to do with it. But you have guys you can rely on, and it's just unfortunately it's the nature of the beast. Especially in this day and age with the NIL, guys are going to see something else that they want that's more attractive to them. They're going to be offered deals, and it's just and not just the NIL deal, but you got depth chart issues as well. If they find out they're going to be too far down, like you pointed out from that leaked information, then it is what it is. And what can you do about it?
I mean, I guess because I understand the decommitment process because we've seen it with Elijah Page a couple months ago. But I mean, what are your feelings on the way he went about it, though? Like the whole, he tells Freeman, "Hey, I'm good." He laughed at the idea of decommitment. Like,
you have to be. I would be a little more honest. You can't bullshit.
yeah,
That's not right. You don't tell a coach that you're 100% committed and then just all of a sudden book it. He could at least be honest and say, "Well, coach, I'm strongly committed here, but I got to keep my options open too."
mm-hmm.
It all comes down to honesty. That's all that I can say. Because BSing people is not a good character trait that you don't want to have.
And Kansas State fans said he did the same thing to Kansas State, and I didn't realize that.
And if that's a case, and he sounds like kind of a shady character.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying like he's a bad guy or anything, but he's shady in the way of like you almost can't do business with him.
Because you should always expect the unexpected with him.
Yeah, and that's not what you want. I mean, I don't care how good he is. I don't care how fast he is. If he's going to be shady in what he's going to do, and if he's just going to straight up lie, then that's not someone you need on your team.
And who's to say, even if he did stay at Notre Dame, that he sees Chris Tyree come back, Audric Estime and Logan Diggs are the main guys still. He's still behind Jabrian Payne and Jeremiah Love, Jaden Lamar, and then he's like, "Okay, after a year, I'm going to transfer." Like it.
Don't forget about
what's his name?
God. Ben just posted about him last night.
Yeah,
Jadarian Price.
Yeah, Jadarian Price. He's like a mini Audric Estime right now.
Man, all I know is Ben posted a picture of him on our Twitter and with the caption that said, "This guy is a freshman." Well, a freshman as far as eligibility goes, but no, that kid is like the freaking Hulk, man.
Yeah,
you can tell.
Him and Estime are going to be a problem.
Yeah, it's based like. I mean, we got to see more of him. I mean, obviously, we got to see Price on the field without question, but all I can say is that you can tell that kid's been working his way back and he's been eating his Wheaties, man.
Hey, you know what? And the first time I saw that kid was in the spring game when his first touch went for a 70-yard touchdown run. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a spring game, but if that's any evidence of what that kid could be, I mean,
Yes. Oh, to have two mini mini
baby
Jerome
buses.
Bettises. Yeah, baby buses. Holy crap. I hope he can run as strong as he looks.
But the only thing I'm concerned about is that ACL. You know,
Yeah.
that's what he. I mean, that's something that with running backs at least can be a lingering thing. But like I
Oh, I
said,
agree.
what do you think about the Colorado? I mean, you know, because Colorado fans think they're going to win a natty next year with Deion getting 5 and 4, all these
Listen,
5-star kids and transfers, and
it's going to take some time. I mean, I'm not saying they couldn't be something in a few years, but you're not going to win a national championship right from the start. It's going to take some work. You got to build it up. I mean, just like the same thing with Coach Freeman in his first year with us. You know, everybody's expecting instant results, and we had fans in our fan base, you know, the 1% crapping all over him before he even, you know, before he even coached his first regular season game with us. I mean, yeah, he coached the Fiesta Bowl, but he was just getting started. I mean, I know it's going to go on his record, yes, but you almost really can't count that because it was in a transition,
he wasn't allowed to be with the team very much because of the media stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So the bottom line is that with any first-year head coach or first-time head coach, whatever, or both, whatever, you have to give them time to build up the team.
And I even said that on Twitter when Colorado fans were saying this stuff. I commented and was like, "Hey, you guys went 1-11 last year. Like, you don't just turn. I don't care if you get Deion Sanders. I don't care if you get all the 5 stars in the world. We've seen what happened at A&M when they had the best recruiting class in all of college football history. Look how that turned out. They went 5-7, and now most of those guys that they got are gone. I said you don't just turn a 1-11 program into a 13-0 playoff contender. That's not how that works. Yeah. There's an in between. Freeman, look at Freeman. He took an 11-1 team. They went 8-4 in his first year. You know, it's not easy. It's not you can have all the talent in the world, but if you can't coach worth a shit, it's not going to matter. You know. And of course, Colorado fans got really mad and said, "Well, you're a Notre Dame fan. They're still salty about the 80s and 90s. And they said, you guys stole a national title from us, blah, 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 blah."
Hey, if you want to get technical, a referee stole an Orange Bowl win from us on a bullshit clip call. It didn't even happen.
I think they're still salty, Sean. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, let's get Colorado on the schedule then. So, well, you know what, Ryan? I think that's a good place to end the stream. This is definitely a good show, and to everybody still watching, since we had some morons show up, some complete retards, these streams are going to go back to being subscriber only streams. So if you want to watch, you're going to have to be a subscriber. Sorry, but we're trying to weed out the losers on here. But with that said, we thank you all for watching.
I did want to say one thing. Like I said, always, don't forget to tune in to Week 0 Productions.
Yes.
Tune in. I came out with the best of championship week this week. Great video. Go ahead and check it out if you like highlights as well as NFL highlights every week. Also, next week's show, if you guys are big college football fans, we're having a special guest on who's a former Oregon Duck college football player on the show next week. So if you guys want to, if that's something that interests you,
is it Joey Harrington?
No.
Is it Joey Harrington? Okay, I just want to take one guess.
It's not. He's a former second round pick for the Oregon Ducks. So tune in for that. So he's a guy that played with Marcus Mariota. So
all right.
Yeah. But yeah, don't forget to tune in for that and go ahead and subscribe. We're almost to 100, so you guys can get us to that 100 mark. That'd be amazing.
All right. Well, it sounds like you guys are on the right path, and yeah, guys, go subscribe to Week 0 Productions, and they have some good stuff over there. So make sure, and I think you guys love it too. So make sure to subscribe. So With that, everyone, I am ND Sean 45.
And I am Ryan Week Zero Productions for Vel.
But it says Colorado Blowhards for Vel.
Hey man, you know what?
All right. Okay, yeah, you gotta still say your brand. So
Yep.
on that note, everyone, thank you again for watching. Merry if we don't see you before then, Merry Christmas,
Yep.
and God bless all of you.
Yep.
So have a good one, everyone. Peace out.
Peace.
God bless.